And now here to discuss the impact of Yahya Sinwar assuming the position of Ismail Haniyeh is Avi Melamed, Middle East analyst and author. Avi, so great to have you with us. Can you start by telling us a little bit more about the selection of Sinwar to lead the political faction of Hamas? Does this mean Sinwar will be out of hiding?
Thank you for having me. No, the answer for that is no. Actually, it's very interesting because this is a very complex story. Hamas factors present this whole nomination slash election sort of Sinwar as the replacer or the one that replaced Haniyeh as an expression of unity. But beneath the surface, there are totally different things. One of the things that Haniyeh's assassination exposed was this growing inner tension within Hamas that was boosted following October 7 as criticism in the Arab world and the Palestinian on Hamas mounted because of the catastrophe Hamas has inflicted upon the Palestinians. And one of the things it revealed is that beyond the personal rivalries within Hamas, between Haniyeh and Sinwar, between other people in the top leadership, it also basically further sharpened the differences and the power struggle between a couple of camps within Hamas, particularly, namely, the Iranian and the Turkish camp within Hamas. Khaled Mish'al, who is much more affiliated with the Turkish camp, didn't even attend the inauguration of the Iranian new president. So it seems like that there is an attempt of Hamas to send a sign of unity by basically crowning Sinwar as the leader. But as I said before, beneath the surface, the picture is by far much more complex.
Now, what do you think the ramifications will be practically when it comes to hostage negotiations?
Well, the major thing to remember is the following one. In the end of the day, the person that physically holding the hostages, or some of them, is not Haniyeh and it's not Mish'al, it's Sinwar, and he's holding them as an insurance policy. That was the situation before the assassination of Haniyeh, that continues to be the situation following the assassination of Haniyeh. Is it going to further complicate the negotiations deal? Maybe, not necessarily. But we have to bear this thing in mind because in the end of the day, this is the most significant thing to take into consideration when we think about the whole process of the discussions and the negotiations between the sides. Sinwar is interested in an insurance policy, and for him, the best insurance policy is to continue and to hold the hostages as of now, with all the ramifications that comes along with that.
Now, of course, some have said that the selection of Sinwar shows Hamas is determined not to change course, as you mentioned briefly, unity. When it comes to this war, do you agree with this characterization of the, rise of Sinwar to be the leader, or there's simply no one else Hamas wanted to replace Haniyeh?
It seems to me like, and we have to remember that there has been an ongoing debate within Hamas. It didn't start following October 7. It was the way before October 7 between what I call the more pragmatic camp and the more dogmatic camp. And Sinwar definitely is coming from the more dogmatic camp. So now this debate is further boosted following what happened following October 7 and the ramifications on both Hamas and the Palestinians as well in Gaza. We have to remember there is a lot of anger on Hamas and particularly Sinwar, including in Gaza Strip. Now, when we look at the whole picture, the comprehensive picture, sort of speaking to say, one of the interesting things to notice is that in the Arab world, most of the reactions to that step that Hamas basically was doing, most of the reactions are negative in the sense that the Arab world is saying to Hamas, now when you did that, you actually deepen the crisis and deepen the lack of exit from the crisis, and by doing that, basically, you are deepening and dragging the Palestinians into a deepening crisis. One of the most significant things to understand in that context has to do with the question of the day after, because in the Arab world, by the way, many governments and rulers in the Arab world would like to see Hamas vanished in the air. It's not going to happen. But in the Arab world, now there is an understanding that as long as Hamas is basically as an attempt to hold on its lines and to express sort of unity, as long as Hamas is clinging to the Iranian/tough hard line, it will be more and more difficult for the Arab world to navigate in a way that in the end of the day could help the Palestinians. And that in its turn is going to refuel Palestinian anger and criticism on Hamas. I think that Hamas is heading to a deepening crisis.
All right, well, we are out of time, but Avi Melamed, I want to thank you so much for your insights on this issue.
Thank you for having me.